Okay, so what's up? Security domain. Oh, as I bring up the curriculum, let's see where we are being today.
So
Our
according to the Google Cloud, I think we have to consider their labs, right?
oh,
Because when
okay,
I
okay,
check
okay.
from Westlab, their labs is limited to only IAM, what I saw.
Mm,
But then considering
okay,
Google Cloud, their book, their lab, they have creating IAM, use setting up MFA,
okay.
and then set up static website hosting with S3 and CloudFront.
Mm.
And then, well, I think the
All
first year,
under the security.
yes. I'm surprised why they brought set up a static website
Le-
hosting with S3 and security. It's surprising. It shouldn't have been there. But then the
Probably
other
mm-hmm.
CloudFront, within CloudFront, you see,
CloudFront. Okay.
yes, web application firewall within.
Then exactly. So that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the encryption part.
yeah, sure. So for the first to create IAM user, I think we can skip that and set up
Oh,
MFA. We can
let
skip
me
that.
let me get the. Is it their from? Is it from that their book that you sent me?
Yes. So from
Okay.
their book, yeah,
Let me try and get it.
and then you
It's,
go to page 9,
okay.
yeah, and then set up WAF, Shield, and Cloud Front, and then finally set up
Okay.
AWS
So,
organization.
oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
I'll need a few like a small recap on some of the things because it's been quite a while
all right.
since I learned them. But yesterday, I think over the past 2 days, I've been trying to revise. I'm using Wasteland video tutorials, and
Oh, okay.
I've gone through. I jumped some of them because especially the ones that we did during the Saturdays boot camp.
All
But
right.
the other ones, yesterday in particular, I was watching the video on WAF and Shield. Okay,
Okay.
so that's
The
I think
standard
I
and then
think
the
the
advanced.
yes, I think in one of the certification exams that I wrote, there was a question that got me confused, and it was about this one of them, either the WAF or the Shield,
Mm.
and they were asking like they gave me the options: DDoS attack.
The advanced, the
No, not the advanced per se. Like I don't
oh,
remember which
okay.
of the
Because
service they were
anything
asking about.
DDoS, the distributed denial of service. I think when it has
Yeah,
to
so
do with
that's
that,
for the
then
shield.
yes, it's about the shield.
But this question I'm talking about, it's likely it was the WAF, and they listed a
Okay,
number of they
we can,
listed a number of them that you are supposed to choose all that is correct. By the time I
all
didn't
right.
know the difference between the WAF and the shield.
Wow. Oh, okay.
So it was only yesterday that I realized that the WAF is for all the other things, whilst the shield is for the DDoS attack. So
So
in
the WAF is like this. The WAF basically is the firewall. So
yeah,
it circulates around your network. So
okay,
it's basically around entirely your network. It occupies your entire network. That's basically
okay,
what the yeah. So it's
wow, that's
firewall. But then yeah, AWS, their terms.
yeah, I
It's just
understand.
firewall. Yeah.
So
Okay.
even the term firewall, well, I know about firewall, but I haven't really delved into it like that. So you need to know the exact things
Access
that is
control
able to
list.
prevent.
Yeah,
For
access control
instance,
list.
yes, so there is an access control list.
Yeah.
It prevents against SQL injection. It prevents against cross-site scripting. That's
Mhm.
XSS. Then there was one or two others, I think. like it says you can deny or allow particular IP
Allow or deny.
addresses.
That's the
Yeah.
access control list.
Okay.
That has to do
Okay.
with the access control
Together,
list.
so
Yeah.
the access control list will do with both the IP address and those geographical location
The
stuff.
graphical location. Yeah, sure.
Okay. This one he said is at A. Sorry, let me push it to this other screen. He said it's at page what?
9. The labs. Or
Okay.
you
That's
want to visit the like
um
where you see the
okay,
lab.
let's see the
Or
overview of.
let's glance through the security topic.
Yeah. Where
Okay, so
is that
go to
one?
114,
Okay,
114,
chapter.
8.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here you're saying who is responsible for what part of the
And
VPC?
it's a
Okay.
shared responsibility.
Okay. Then the principle of least privilege that I remember.
Yeah.
And I think it came in one of the exams too. Principles of least privilege.
As in the
The
associate or the
no, I
practitioner.
mean when I was writing a practitioner, one of them
Oh, okay. Oh,
was there.
uh,
Then
okay.
industry compliance.
Compliance. Yeah. So
So are they going to take
uh,
each of them and talk about it?
yes, exactly.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
industry compliance with regards to
Mm-hmm.
HIPAA, which is health,
Oh, okay,
GDPR,
okay.
yeah, those ISO,
PCI,
yeah, PCI,
PCI.
DSS,
Okay,
yeah, PCI, DSS,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
payment card, yeah, those stuff,
Mm,
yeah.
okay. So
And then
that's the if you are using in terms of the shared security model, the industry compliance will be at your end, you the user. Or
yes, what you keep within your VPC,
okay.
yeah, and then AWS, the hardware, the compute soft storage, and then the database networking stuff.
Mm.
So basically, the
But
hardware
but
aspect.
okay, but some of their services are internally compliant with some of these industry standards, I
Yeah,
guess. Because I remember when
they have a
we were
link to
doing
that. They have a
okay.
link to that. It's within the book. I think the next page. The next page you come
Mm,
across that. Next two
okay.
pages also. Yeah, next two pages. So page 115. There's a link to that. The number of compliance they have.
Oh, okay. That's the number of compliance that the AWS services has.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
Because if you have to use people's
Okay.
data, you have to oblige by GDPR. If
Mm,
people's health, you have to consider HIPAA,
yeah,
those
HIPAA.
stuff. Payment
Mm.
card, you consider PCI. Yeah. So
So is there a case where I don't know, probably you ask us if this service is compliant to this particular industrial standard? Because I remember we had a case like that with Na where the question was, I think it was a practical question that we were discussing. Said something about HIPAA.
okay.
I remember I was even
Mm,
explaining what HIPAA was.
yes, I remember actually you opened my eyes on the HIPAA. I had never heard of it before. It was when we
Okay.
were having these lessons that you mentioned about HIPAA, US or something, something. But then, with regards to the architect, don't you think this question should be something lower standard?
Mm, I'm just okay. Not even with regards to these industry standards. I'm just looking at their services. Like, is there a way that we need to know that maybe if you are using EC2, EC2 is compliant with
Compliance
this one
with this.
or not?
Okay.
But I think that will also be too broad something to consider. Right? Looking at, I didn't even think there were a lot of these standards.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at
Mm-hmm.
the standards being plenty like this, I don't think maybe if you
Because
want to come and use it, you would have to do your research and find out. Okay,
yes,
let's
yes,
say
yes,
G Cloud,
yes,
which of
yes.
the AWS services is G Cloud
And I
compliant.
believe some might even be the third-party apps
Okay,
because
okay,
you
yeah,
have to comply before they can host you on their cloud.
exactly.
So I believe some of them will have their own compliance there as well.
Mm,
So if you are going through
mm.
that, then we are going through thousands of compliance
Yeah,
certification.
I think that's where there's a problem. So we can go on. Then, so the first part was okay, the principle of least privilege that I remember. Securing
Yes.
the VPC, walk me through that one. Securing the VPC. What do you mean by securing the VPC? Is
So
it?
first of all, it starts with
Hmm.
securing the cloud first,
Okay.
which is the aspect of AWS. So we are looking at the shared
Yes. So
principle.
the shared
First of all,
model
we
of
are looking at that
responsibility.
of exactly. We are looking at that
Okay.
of AWS. So they
Okay.
consider the first option is principle of least privilege,
Mm.
which
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
The next one, physical security, keeping their
Okay. Physical
facility up.
security will be for the AWS guys.
Yes, yes. And then security of the cloud. I do remember I mentioned this in class and they started laughing.
The of the
Do you
cloud and
remember?
in the cloud.
And in the cloud. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So security of the cloud. Their firewalls, their system patching, their routing, IDS. Hope you know IDS and IPS, intrusion detection system and intrusion prevention system.
Mm. Like I've heard them, but I haven't
They
seen
are all
this.
security. They are
I
security
think
stuff. Intrusion
intrusion
detection.
detection service.
Yeah, and
Then
intrusion
prevention.
prevention service.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
One
once you check,
question. The principle of least privilege. That means that that concept will apply to both AWS and the end
exactly,
user as well. Because
very good.
initially I was thinking it was for only the end user. So AWS also restricts us with regards to what we can do. Is that the case?
As in, I'm sure their end, as in
Yeah.
managing their
We don't get
staff.
to see everything that they
Uh-huh,
do behind the scene.
uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, so you look at it, it said limiting who from AWS can manage assets. So not even
Hey.
in your cloud, but then at their
So
place.
oh,
Yes.
okay.
So at their end,
Limiting who from
limiting
AWS
even
can
the
manage
workers.
assets.
So I watched this video of Google's data center.
Okay.
There are places, even the workers themselves, there are places some of them cannot go,
Mm.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's how it
So
is.
it's just like it's just like you having your company and you are
Uh-huh,
applying principle of least privilege. So AWS
uh-huh,
also as a company is applying principle of least privilege.
uh-huh. You
Okay.
can't go
It makes
as a
sense.
front desk, as a front desk guy, you can't go to the
Yeah,
boss office. Yeah.
exactly. I
Yeah.
get it now. So
Yeah.
it applies to all of us.
You follow industry regulations. Is
Mm.
the next point. So
Okay.
that we look at the compliance.
Yeah.
If you are keeping my data, you have to make sure it's safe.
Mm-hmm.
GD, GDPR. If you are keeping my health status, my health data, if I'm posting my health
No, about this
software,
particular GDPR. You know, right
it,
now, if you have any website at all that uses cookies on it and is
mhm.
accessible worldwide, you are required to put something like that. A
Oh, okay.
notification that you are GDPR compliant also.
Do you
Charlie.
remember there was this argument in class the last time? Do you remember we were talking about this and they came out with it that supposing this, you see, there are some website, if you have your data there,
Mm-hmm.
once you log on to Google, search it, your name
Yeah.
appears from their website.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were arguing that. So posting this font size should do same. Aye.
They'll start bringing people out. Eh?
Mhm.
That place, are you sure people will be using their real names? I don't think people will be using their real names.
Oh, okay. But then you sign in with your Google account. So
Probably
that's
because
just
of
by
yeah, because
so
of
next.
this ID federation and things. I'm
Mm-hmm,
sure you,
mm-hmm.
you sign in
Yes,
with it.
yes, yes. You have to sign in with it. Then keeping all AWS applications secure with patching
Okay.
and maintaining underlying components of
Yeah.
serverless
Yeah.
application offered by AWS. So basically, we all know that you have to constantly update your servers, your VMs to prevent any leakages.
Yeah.
Then keeping the AWS network secure with secure routing, VLANs,
Okay.
route filtering, firewalls, intrusion prevention and detection. So it's mentioned here, intrusion prevention and detection system.
Okay. Hmm.
All right, so
The
that's in
question
the
that
part
is
of.
running through my mind right now is
Mhm.
uh, some of these are like shared responsibilities and others are like AWS responsibilities and
Specific.
customer. Okay.
Sure, sure. Uh, if you remember, there are things that like least privileges. If you could recall, we did
Mm-hmm.
that. I've forgotten some of the points where you do the same thing. Both parties do the exact
Yeah,
same.
they do the same thing, but
Yes,
yours is
yes,
on your own.
sure, sure. Because patching, for example, you do patching still. If you're going to use
Yes.
an infrastructure like EC2, you have to do the patching yourself.
Okay. Okay. That makes
So
sense.
on so on the part of our side, the customers,
Okay.
I am.
Mm.
Mhm. Okay, we'll
Okay.
go further. I think we will go through that, so I won't mention it here. But then, have you heard of AAA, the triple A in security?
Mm. No, I'm
Authentication,
not sure.
authorization, you have. It just gives you authentication,
No, no,
authorization,
I know those two, but what's the third A?
accounting.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't know that.
it's funny. My first interview I had with it was a health institution, and
Okay.
then the guy asked, "Oh, you said you are knowledgeable in security. So what is the triad of security?
Mm.
Have you heard of triad of security before? And the CIA tried
Mm.
confidentiality, integrity, and then availability. Yeah, and availability.
Hey, I see.
And he used the term the triad of security, and I had no idea. And he mentioned first one confidential. I was like, what the hell? Mhm. So
I
these things
see.
and their terms are kind of so the IAM basically, according to Go Cloud, is just the AAA, the
Okay.
authentication. Yeah, because IAM does authentication and authorization.
Mm.
Yeah, it does the
Okay.
first two, but
Two.
then the
Okay.
accounting aspect,
Mm-hmm.
IAM does not do it. The
Oh, okay.
accounting maybe they use how do you call that? The login. How do you call it? The log service.
Yeah. Is it cloud trails?
The trail, yeah. Yeah. So principle of least privilege and
Mm-hmm.
then data security, you manage your encryption,
Encryption. Okay.
server side and client side.
Mm. The
And
okay. When you say server side and client side, server side for the AWS guys or us.
our server,
That's okay. It depends on the service that you are using.
It depends. Yeah, it depends because if I'm running a serverless, everything is monitored for me. So
Okay.
maintenance of
I
customer
was
data.
thinking that when we are looking at data security, as
Yeah.
Ima said the last time, we'll probably be looking at data
All
in
right.
transit.
Okay.
Data
So
in transit.
the beauty of internet. So server side encryption.
Oh, it's not like
AWS.
I don't understand it. I'm just looking at it from the angle where we are working on. Is
Okay.
I feel that when you the end user, we are looking at data security, then you are looking at like your data. So for instance, when I want to store data in S3 buckets, I can encrypt it. Then
Mhm.
when I want to send, I think Ima mentioned it during Saturday's meeting. When I want to send data from one
Data
end
on
to the
transit.
other,
Data on
data
transit.
in transit, I have to also encrypt it using the HTTPS and things. So that's what I was by default thinking about
Okay.
data security. Yeah,
All right. That's fine.
okay.
And then managing traffic. Okay. Management of the VPC routing table.
Tables,
Routing
routing
tables.
tables,
So that's we'll delve much into this when we get to networking.
networking. Okay.
Yes, but then basically routing, how resources communicate.
Mm-hmm.
So a table that specifies they have different type, how they communicate, open shortest path first. They have a lot of them. So depending
Okay.
on the algorithm you use, so you manage your sense is our data center. So we
Mm-hmm.
manage our VPC routing tables. And then we manage traffic allowed into the VPC, data
Okay.
allowed in the VPC. So
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
talking about the firewalls. So that's
Yeah.
where the access control list comes in. If this data is coming, are you
Yeah.
allowed to enter? No,
Mm-hmm.
else drop. The NACLs network access control list, the security
Security
group,
groups and
NACLs on security groups, and then security groups on host or instances, right?
yeah.
And maintenance of operating system and applications stored on EC2 compute instances.
Okay.
Yeah. And physical security. Keep the devices that connect to the cloud secure from unauthorized users. So on the physical
Mm.
security, I was looking
Mm-hmm.
at the YubiKey. YubiKey, YubiKey,
Which
right?
one is that?
YubiKey.
Wait, that's new to me.
So why you BI and key? You have shared your screen,
DI.
so why you? Why
Why
you?
you?
I want you to search it online so that we see.
Oh, okay. Okay, sure.
Yeah, so that we all see. Why you
Why you?
BI
BI. Okay.
key? Yeah, maybe
Okay.
key. Mm-hmm.
Do I have to add AWS or what?
That's it. That's the UB key.
Hey,
It's just a
so
pen
what are
drive.
they talking about?
That's the pen drive. Yeah, that's the pen drive over there. It's a
So
pen drive.
it's a pen drive.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's just a pen
Mm-hmm.
drive.
Mm-hmm. What's its use?
So how it's used is mostly to avoid online scammers, phishing, and those things.
Mm-hmm.
You might some companies actually use physical security keys, which is the UB key. So
Oh, okay.
when you
Security
want to
keys. Okay.
authenticate, yeah, when you want to authenticate,
Mm-hmm.
get access to your maybe your workstation, your Gmail, what have you. You insert the key, you press, there is a button there. If you said there's a button on it, you press on
Okay.
it and it will authenticate. You get access to your service. So that's how
I see.
YubiKey works. Yeah.
Okay. Then
So
on the other hand, I was also looking at, you
okay.
say keep devices that connect to the cloud secure from unauthorized users. So there are a lot of other devices that you could possibly connect to the cloud. Example being the, the snowball, those things, the storage devices. Because well,
Sorry,
if
it's way.
even your how do you call it, in-house service, if you are
Mm-hmm.
using, let's say, hybrid service, your
Mm-hmm.
in-house service, the snowball, edge, whatever things that you use, any other device that will be connected to the cloud, I think it will also make sense to keep them safe from unauthorized users, because they can implant those viruses and things on. The guy is calling. Let me
Exactly.
pick his call.
All
Okay.
right. All right. All right.
Hi, 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 hi. Hello.
Yeah, so yeah,
Sorry. So sorry.
the
Mm,
guy is saying,
no, he was requesting for a ladder, so I've now got someone. Okay. So we can continue. Mm,
yeah. So you were talking about physical
yeah,
security
the physical security.
and
So I
how you
think
can
even like
let
on your on premise, on your on prem, let's
mhm,
say you have various devices, even your laptop that you are using to connect to the cloud. Like right now, I'm connected to AWS account. So you have to keep it safe from unauthorized users because at the end of the day, if somebody gets access to it, assuming you have your password saved somewhere, they get access to it, or you've logged in and you've just left it there, they can intrude and do anything they want to do with it. So I think that's
yeah,
also very important.
okay, cool. Now a major topic, principle of least privilege.
That's for that one. Yeah, I know.
We can skip that, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And then the industry compliance.
We've talked about that one. So,
And then I
let's.
am.
Okay, so you mentioned AAA.
Mhm,
Um, mm, yeah. At least last Saturday we dealt with authentication and authorization.
mhm.
So it's just the accounting part, but for once we are learning about those logs, I'm sure we would come across it. Okay, these definitions sometimes they confuse you.
Charlie,
Uh,
Charlie, no use
identity,
wo-
entity, resource, principal, user, groups, roles. There are few of them that usually confuse, especially resources. Sometimes when they are using resource, the term resource, you are not sure whether they are referring to the AWS resources,
resource
as in those EC2
services.
like services,
Yeah.
or if they are referring to principal users or who. Sometimes it's a bit from what Ima taught us last night. I think it was a bit clearer, except so the time that I went to read something else.
Identity,
Identity,
the
exactly.
identity based policy, and then the resource based policy,
Mm. But,
right?
I think that wasn't even my problem. Like I was reading, I think in the Waste Lab tutorials, one of them when they were talking about difference between resources and identity or
Mm.
something like that. Then now it became a bit confusing. Anyway, for now I'll stick to what I know. I'm going to immerse on the resources like almost everything. So users, groups, roles, principles, identities, they all form part of resource. Then when you come to identity, I think that was where the problem was. You must said with
The
identity.
resources, no, resources are everything,
Mm,
including a user.
yeah,
Really?
that's what I said. Then that's
Oh,
what. No, so he said that.
the identity
No, no,
rather.
no, no. Listen, when that's why I was saying earlier that when they are saying the resource, sometimes you become confused because what I'm talking about right now, like what Sima
Mhm.
taught us was I am resources.
Okay.
You get so that's a bit different from AWS resources. So when we hear the AWS resource, that one is usually the
Services.
services. But
Mm-hmm.
the I am resources,
Mm-hmm.
the I am resources said that's made up of all those stuff, the groups, the roles, the principles, identities, like
Oh.
all those
Mhm.
things are known as I am resources. Then when
Okay.
you break it down, when you come to identities, then identities are things that you can use to log in. You can use to log in. So you mentioned that those ones that we mentioned under resources, like the users, the roles, they form part of identities. So here, I think it says identities are resources used to identify. So for example, you said policies are not identities. You get so
Yeah.
all the other resources that they mentioned, apart from policies, all the others are part of the identities.
Oh, okay.
So resources is like everything: users, group, policies, identity, roles, blah blah blah. Then when you come to identities, you are looking at all of them apart from policies.
Policies.
So
Okay.
policies are not identities because you can't use a policy to have
Mm.
access.
Yes.
Like policy
Access
does
to
not
system.
identify you; it just
Yes. Give
defines what you can
a
do or
permission.
you cannot do.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. Exactly.
Then
Makes sense.
you come to entities. Then you said entities are gotten out of identities and they are used for authentication. So
Mm-hmm.
if I think he said groups are not entities because you can't use group to authenticate, but roles, users, those ones are entities because you can use that one to authenticate, like log in into a platform and have access to it. Like so basically log in, anything that will help you log in. But
Okay.
the groups is just like it helps gives you some permissions, but you don't use it to log in. So groups will form part of, let's say, authorization. They're going to check your authorization, but it doesn't form part of authentication. So that means it's not part of the entities. Charlie,
Entity.
the
Mm.
terminology is there.
I never knew this. The entity. That's nice.
That was the first thing. Oh, it wasn't the very first, but it was
I
one of the things she taught during.
I actually had issue connecting, and I was
Oh,
kicked
okay.
out along the way. So
I
maybe
see.
I didn't get that far. But then it's uploaded on YouTube. I don't know whether you've come across it. They've
Yeah,
sent
I've not
the link
checked,
to
but
the
I've
group.
seen that he posted a link here.
Right, yeah.
I actually wrote a lot.
Eh.
Oh
Hey,
yeah, when he was teaching, I was
I didn't write
writing.
anything. I didn't write anything. No,
I,
I didn't write
I,
anything.
at
No,
least the guy was
seriously. I didn't.
simplifying things, so I was
Yeah,
writing some of them.
he really
Mm.
did well. He really did well.
Yeah, so I think the last part there will be the principal, and he said the principal is a person or an application.
Okay.
So that's the IAM resources. So anytime, I don't know, along the line, somebody even asked the question. He was trying to explain that when you hear resources, like you have to be careful because is it AWS resource or is it IAM resource that you're referring to? It used to confuse me a lot.
Mm, right. I see.
Okay, that's fine. So I think that's it for the IAM.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the logs. The logs, apart from CloudTrail, there was one other thing for logs. Is it CloudWatch? CloudWatch
CloudWatch
also has
logs.
CloudWatch logs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
CloudWatch logs.
Okay. At least this ones we understand.
Yeah. Authenticate. You are giving access. You are not. And
Mm.
then the root user.
This one everybody
Uh-huh.
talks about it. Mm-hmm.
Let's look at something. I think this where
Okay.
I read about
Mm-hmm.
what I was saying. Now the root user is the person who created the AWS. The root user have full access to the system.
Yeah.
Now the root user can access the console and has programmatic access to AWS resources. Since
Okay.
root user can do anything, including deletion of the VPC, it's best to use the root account to set up the VPC and then immediately create an IAM user with appropriate access, which is admin, to access the VPC. This is similar in practice to not using the root account to log in. Okay, okay. This is similar when you are using the unit system,
Yeah.
like you need administrative access.
So essentially, it's not saying that the other user cannot create a VPC, but it's more appropriate so that they are not able to delete the VPC because the VPC will be the network that you set up. So if
I'm
I've set up
surprised.
a network and we are running our programs on it, then you have access to it. Mistakenly, you go and delete it. We lose every connection. So I think that's why he's saying it's most appropriate that you use the root user to create a VP so then you grant the others access. Meaning in that sense, no one can take over the VPC completely. No one can delete it apart from the root user. So that would
In
make
fact,
sense.
in fact, I have gone online to search this and it gave me
Mhm.
different things as you are saying, but
Mm.
I don't know. I missed the part best. I don't know whether I missed the part best.
Mm.
Yeah, best
Oh,
to
okay,
use the
okay.
root. Yeah, so it makes sense. So I am users.
All right.
And you talk
You
about
see
the
the
security.
terminology they are using. They are identities. See, like that's how they use the terminology. So if you don't
I
really
am
understand the
uh,
terminologies,
identities that
they are
have permission.
identities. So identities are like resources that allow you to authenticate. Hey, no, that was for specifically for the entities. Hi. Okay, okay, that's
The
fine. They are
entities now, the
identities.
entities are the user and roles used to log in.
Yes, yes,
These are the
yes.
only things you cannot log in with a
Eh,
group, but then you can log in with a
no,
role or a user
exactly,
or
exactly.
have access. So that's entity.
Yeah.
But then an identity,
He said
which is
identity is like a broader one. So it's only the policy that does not form part of identity because identity identifies you.
okay.
So you can add group is part of identity because
User
it gives you
group
an identity. We
role,
can identify you. You are an administrator. You are a
especially
developer. You are a sysadmin. So that's an identity. The user too is an identity because we can
yes,
identify so and so. This individual did
yes.
it. That individual did it. The role too is an identity. So it's only the
The policy.
policies that are
Okay,
not
that's
considered
very
identity.
all right.
Mm. The diagram below shows provides an IAM user accessing an AWS VPC. So they've put all of this in the VPC.
The rules and then security
Security
tokens.
tokens. Yesterday I came across this word, this
The
thing,
token said STS, Security
STS.
Token Service.
Yeah,
Yeah, you meet it here.
STS.
Security Token
Okay,
Service.
okay.
Now, rules are used to provide access to AWS services. Now, there
Mm-hmm.
are three ways or three types of rules in the AWS environment. Now, the
Wow,
EC2 rule.
I didn't know this one too. Three types of
EC2,
rows. EC2 rows, cross account rows,
mhm,
then identity
and the
federation.
federation.
So the
Yeah,
cross account rows would be, is it like the practical one that Yima demonstrated the last time,
sure,
where
sure,
the
sure.
trustee? Oh, okay, okay,
Trusted and trusting. Oh,
yeah.
but that concept, I got it so
Oh
simple.
yeah, yeah. It
I
makes sense.
yeah, trusting. I'm a trust. I trust you. You are the trusted
Mm.
person. It makes sense. So,
So three types of rows.
yeah.
Three types of rows. EC2 rows. Why does EC2 alone have its own rows?
But then you'll not be using EC2, so don't worry. Now, because of serverless, and I have to send you a document about this thing,
Mm-hmm.
microservices.
Okay,
I
microservices.
recently got access to this their how do they call it? Their white paper. I know they're white paper. They call it
Micro.
microservices, and it's awesome. Like
Mm.
instead of monolithic,
But,
you use microservice,
but
and by
is
using
it not what leads into Kubernetes and Docker and things?
no, 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 no,
Mm.
no. It's not about. It's nothing concerned with COVID. Well, it makes sense. You can use it there. It makes sense. You can use it, but specifically, it has three parts. The user interface, which is your maybe your website with maybe
Or
stored in S.
is it like a different platform? Oh, AWS service called microservice? Is that what you're
It's not a
saying?
service. It's an
Okay.
architecture, a framework.
Okay, yes.
So
Uh-huh.
that's yeah.
So
So
I thought the Kubernetes and co are under microservices.
yes, yes, they can be. You see, they are
Right.
compute services, right? They are compute service, so they can fall within,
Okay.
right? Yeah. So
Okay.
look at
Okay.
the front end, which is the user interface, which can include the cloud front, and then S3 that hosts our website. And then we look at the middle section, maybe the compute. It could be
Okay.
the Kubernetes, it could be Elastic Beanstalk. So that's where
Mm.
yours comes in. Yes, and then
Okay.
the other side, which means we use let's say a database, data store. So
Okay.
we need like an API to connect all of them,
Oh, okay.
right?
Yeah.
And yeah, API let us get access to various resources
Okay.
and use something like Lambda so that when there is an event, it triggers.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case,
Okay.
we realize that when there is an issue with one side, maybe the compute or database, you see, it's easy to realize that it's this part,
This.
right?
Okay.
But then when you use a
Okay.
monolithic,
Then I'm coming. I'm coming.
mhm,
Then it's probably like the advancement of microservices that would be container, because
no,
we the normal architecture that we used was the monolithic architecture, where when there's a problem everything comes down because they were
yes.
all put together. Then they brought up microservices. I think I've
I
learned
think
something like that before. Then
let's
like,
okay.
so let me just Google
Check online, but
microservices
yes,
verse.
yes,
Let me
versus
just
monolithic
say
because
no,
I'm looking at
not even there. I'm okay. This versus containers. That's what I'm looking for.
oh,
So I
okay.
think the containers are like the advanced form or something. Containers are about packaging software for deploy. So we can choose whether to use a container for hosting a microservice. Okay, but to get full value from both, it's still better to run microservices within containers. So they are probably two different things.
Mhm.
It's messing up in my brain right now because I think I've read something around it.
All
Microservices
right,
and
so
continuous.
it's not part of our duty today,
Yeah.
so I'll
Oh
send you the
yeah.
document so that you go over.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
an
Sure.
interesting. I saw this document last week. I downloaded it last week because I had challenges with this thing. So this microservice, I wanted to get the idea about microservices.
Oh okay.
Yeah. So basically, you split your resources in the sense that you see, like when you're using your own infrastructure, like EC2, for example, it's possible you
Mm-hmm.
install your database, you install your everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how I get the monolithic aspect.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
stand to be corrected. Since this, you are separating your compute, you are separating your data, so you are separating your um where your website is hosted. That's how I get the concept of monolithic. Yeah. So
Okay.
in that case, if your database is not responding, you obviously know that I have to visit only the data store
Mm.
or the database. Yeah. So I will send you the document so that we get there, we discuss more about it.
Okay. Okay. That's fine.
Okay, so now the EC2 rule. So basically,
EC2.
when the EC2 compute service want to get access to other services, like
Oh
EC2
okay.
want to access
Oh,
Dynamo.
I remember that one. I think there
Yes,
was even
yes,
a question. Yes, I was telling you,
yes.
easy to can assume a role. I
Assume a
remember.
role,
I remember.
assume. I
Yeah.
checked online. What is this assume? Because they keep repeating assume a room. What is that? So I just have to go like that. Is it something you say? Okay. Assume a room. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to
No,
assume a
I
room.
get it.
Yeah. So to get access to it, you have to assume a role.
Hmm.
Mhm. So that's it. And then I think we can move to cross account. Or you are reading something there
Oh no.
in the cross account.
Okay.
And so thanks. So the cross account is frequently necessary for organizations to share resources with other business partners because they mentioned something different. That's why I want us to go through this one.
Oh okay.
Yeah. So to connect with organizations outside VPC, we
Mm-hmm.
were dealing with resources within the VPC, right? Two separate VPCs, right?
The thing is, he didn't create a VPC, so it's like two different networks. Because right
Two
now,
different
where you are
VPCs,
right now,
two different
if
VPCs.
if you say VPC, doesn't it mean that you have set up a VPC, or because there is a default VPC, it's always
You
running?
see, in some cases, because if you are running an enterprise cloud, most of the enterprise people do run the hybrid platform, right?
Yeah.
So in connection, when you are talking about connection, you have to be careful about what we are connecting. Is it between VPCs, among VPC, a peer connection, or an
Hmm.
external one to our data center, our physical data center? So that's why I wanted us to read this.
Yeah. So what I'm also thinking is that even though here we are mentioning specifically VPC, like outside VPC, I'm thinking what you might did wasn't necessarily within a single VPC. It was two
It
separate
was two
accounts.
different, yes.
Aha. So like assuming
It
right
was
now where
two.
you are, your
It was
network
it
is
was
different.
two.
You log in and we are able to connect. I think that will also
Yeah,
pass. Not necessarily a VPC, I guess. But I mean,
yeah.
it makes sense because if you are designing an architecture for your company, you obviously establish your network and you want it to be private. So even if you are going outside, so far as you are going outside that network,
Mm-hmm.
then we probably will be looking at cross account rows.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so the question is when it is in the same VPC, does it mean
Yep.
it's not cross account? If we are, let's say we are all connected in the same VPC and I'm trying to access your account. Okay, mostly when
So
they set up
so
a
so
VPC.
so
Mhm,
in this case, you see, we are using the same account, right? And now
mm.
we are using different users within the same account,
Yeah, like
right?
those ones are IAM users. If it is the
Yes.
same account, then we are just looking at IAM users. So that one wouldn't be cross account.
Okay.
You see?
Okay. Let's be sure by checking online.
So what do I
Or
check?
I'm thinking too much.
Oh no, like
I
let,
am
let's
I am
see
using cross account.
what I am saying. Okay, so let me just check. Cross accounts,
I am users.
cross accounts role AWS. So let's see this one.
It's good you brought this up because I've been thinking about this thing. That cross account. Supposing because if you are using it doesn't make sense from my end, but then
Mhm.
right now you are one user, I'm another user in the same account.
Mhm. That wouldn't be cross accounts.
Well, it makes sense, yeah, sure.
And if you need to have access, I don't think you need to. I don't have an account. Like we are all
Mhm.
IAM users, so you are only accessing everything that the root user has given you access to. But if now you switch and use your own account, which is
Mhm.
different from the root account that we are using right now,
Mhm.
then that is when we could probably be talking about cross
Cross
account.
account. Okay, it makes
Aha,
sense. It
that's what
makes
I'm
sense.
thinking. Except
Yeah,
that
it makes
because they mentioned VPCs, I'm also asking myself, does it mean as soon as I launch my console and I start working, the default VPC is up and working or not? Because we are connected to the internet and we are using the internet, so I don't think that makes it a VPC. But I'm
sense.
also thinking that in an organization, especially one that requires enough privacy, you'd first of all set up your virtual private cloud.
Mhm.
Okay, so if you want to access, you even know that if you want to access something on the internet, then you have to use those ZNAT or whatever before you be able to access things outside your network to make it secure. So
Direct,
in that
direct,
case,
direct connect and then VPNs.
aha, yes, those things. So in that case,
And I
if you are
came
going to
across
access,
this. There is
mhm.
something called Active Directory Connector.
Yeah, yeah, I also saw it.
You can okay, that's fine then.
Yeah,
Yes.
using
So that
IAM rules.
connects on-prem Active Directory to cloud Active Directory.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Oh, this question. Let's check the terminologies. Where is it? There are a lot of terminologies. Too many terminologies.
I actually understood these
Yes.
things, but then by reading this, Charlie, I got confused.
So this
The
the
web is something. I read about this OAuth, open authentication, SAML,
oh okay.
security assertion, markup language, single sign-on,
Sorry.
those things. But then, Charlie, AWS has a lot of things.
A lot, a lot. In fact, yesterday
Okay,
at one point I just got tired
okay,
and like yes, the Cognito ID Federation SAML 2.0
SAML,
SSO and
single
it's like
sign-on,
they are
yeah.
all talking about the same thing.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly, exactly.
These people
But
will not
one,
kill us.
I think one difference I saw between SSO,
Mm,
and then the IP Federation,
mm.
the Federated IAM.
Okay, federated ID. Mhm.
So no, Federated IAM,
I am.
mm, SSO and Federated IAM. Now, I think the book talks about it. Okay, so we'll get there. Is it the book or I set it online? I think it's the book. Now the SSO use the internal identity provider, which is maybe mostly corporate body. They use Active Directory identity
Oh,
provider.
okay. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, to get authenticated to the cloud. But
Mm.
then in federated IAM, you use an external IP. Yeah, you use an external identity provider, the
Mm.
Google, the Facebook, the GitHub to do the authentication. So I was
Yeah.
thinking a question of that sort can appear that
Mm.
this company wants to use an internal IP
Okay.
to access their resources, or an organization wants to use an external IP. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. So talking about SSO, we are looking at internal identity provider. It's mostly LDAP. I'm sure you know LDAP.
Yeah.
Yeah, Active Directory. Basically, that's what they use mostly. And then, okay, so that's it. And then the federated IAM. So
Mm.
now you can continue.
From the definition here, I think it's just basically when there is cross accounts, like from one account to another.
So another
A
account. That
role
makes sense.
that grants access to resources in one account to a
Account
trusted
to
principal in a different
another.
account. So not necessarily a
All
VPC,
right.
but I mean that's just like an example. If you're accessing,
Mm,
if it's not in your VPC, then obviously it's not that account because you can a whole organization just as we have the AWS organization stuff. You could be using like just one account or two accounts or three accounts that are put together.
mm.
But
Yeah,
if you need to
because I
access,
learned that that's what most companies do. They actually
mm,
have a lot of accounts. Yeah, most like five, four,
oh, okay,
and put them in an AWS. Is it AWS tower, control
I
tower? Yeah,
see.
they put them in the organization. Basically, that's used to control the organization, the
Okay,
federated
okay,
account, the federated accounts. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's it. I think it makes sense. A role is created for the
Mm-hmm.
external user. The external user connects to AWS secure token. Okay, so from secure to yes, and receives a temporal token. I think that's what I learned from it. That it grants you a temporal token that you use to access a particular
and
resource
and
or
and then rotates.
it
The token is
rotates.
rotated. Yes,
Oh,
within
okay, okay,
like
okay. So
the
yeah.
it rotates like
You,
on
you
one
remember
one
you
hour.
remember
You
I
you not
asked Ima that question that when you create a rule, do
is
you
it
give it
permanent?
an expiry date or what?
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
It rotates so like 1 hour. But
Okay.
then okay, external user provided thing. So I read about something about it that it helps like if a hacker accesses your resources because the token rotates, which means if I have 1 hour and I don't finish whatever I have to do within the hour, I'll be kicked out after the hour.
Yeah.
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 So I think it's a perfect tool. Hey, your people have started though.
These people.
And boot Go Cloud, they have
Ah.
so we can download them and then what? Have you downloaded the previous
Oh,
one?
okay. They sent me an email.
A message as well. Yeah, that's fine. I just received
I've,
it. So did you
uh,
download the old one?
no, sorry.
Then you have to download it. You wait and then download the new.
Now I hardly download YouTube videos. Usually I'll watch it live. If I watch it,
Broadcast
I'll
of
take my notes. Oh no, like I'll take my notes then watch it
yeah,
then that's all.
yeah,
Because I
yeah.
don't think
Yeah.
if I download it, no, like after downloading is when right now I don't have the time for it, so I'll download and keep. Then when I'm ready, I'll learn. But I mean, if I download it, I don't get time to learn. So
No,
if I'm watching it, then I know that I'm watching it, and that way it
all
keeps
right.
track of where I've gotten to. Anyway,
Okay. Okay, so now understood for the cross accounts.
Yeah.
Now, identity federation.
Mm-hmm.
IAM is such a critical function for organizational security. We know that IAM can become challenging to manage. Often, the best way to scale IAM system is to connect federate with an identity provider. So, a company will link its Active Directory to the cloud
Okay.
for objects to be created in the cloud.
Mm.
A VPC can connect to an identity provider and use its IAM database within AWS.
Mm.
A VPC can connect to an identity provider and use its IAM database within AWS. Connection with an identity provider are built by building a trust. So the entire IT is built on trust.
Yeah.
My data is with Google. If I don't trust them, then I have to stop using Google.
Mm-hmm.
So trust relationship within the identity provider. So after the trust relationship is established, a connection is made with OpenID Connect or SAML.
Mm-hmm.
So identity providers can be an organization's Active Directory or LDAP.
Okay.
To like directory active access protocol, like directory access protocol. Mostly most organizations use the Active Directory. Or so I think
Mm.
this is where I was talking about can be an ID can be an organization's Active Directory or LDAP system, or an external provider such as Google, Facebook, and what have you.
Mm.
Now there are three choices for authentication with identity providers: the SSO single sign-on, federated IAM, and then AWS Cognito.
Mm.
So the
With
single
the
sign-on,
with the SSO, I think my first experience with it is the ALS course that we are taking. I think they've done that for us. So to access the Slack channel, that's what you do. Like when I go to the platform right now, let's see. If I want to access Slack, instead of entering my login details, I'll be asked to use the single sign. If only this thing will come. Sometimes my browser doesn't allow it to come. I don't think it will come. But you see that there's an option to use the single sign on. And when I click it, it will automatically log me in because they have my login details. Like when I was logging in here, I use my login details to log in. Once I've logged in here, it means I can have access to every other platform connected to it. So that's how I understood the single sign on. So you sign on to just one device. After signing on to that, like if let's say it's AWS console, after signing in to it, you now have access to all the connected services. You can use them without any login. But if you are logged out, like the platform I just visited, if I was logged out, I won't get access to the other platforms. Oh, the mine is gone. Okay. Can be an organization's affiliation. Hi, hi.
Alright. So yeah. Now it's showing the actual okay. Alright.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you now.
It's raining at your end.
No, is it the
Now,
sound you can hear? That's the fan. The fans are
okay.
making noise. Okay. So I was showing you the platform that we use and how they've implemented a single sign-on there. I don't know if you saw what I was doing.
I went offline. Uh,
I
y-
did. I didn't
you know,
realize.
eh,
Yeah, like I didn't realize it earlier before. After I finished talking, that's when I realized you were off. So I was wondering what at what point in time you went off.
yeah, so I think you are on the single sign.
Yeah. Uh, I was giving an example that with the ALS program, there's
Mm-hmm.
a platform that we use. Like there's a classroom. It's called the intranet. So before you get here, you log in with your credentials before you get in here. But after logging in, now there is the Slack channel that you can have access to because you are logged in here. So when you click on Slack, my browser is not supporting it, so it won't open. You see, it's redirecting you to Slack.
Yeah.
Okay. And if my unless I update my browser, it won't work. But if it was working, what will happen is that I think I even downloaded it.
You
No,
sign
I've
in
not
as
downloaded it.
that username.
Yeah, so they'll bring the option like enter your email address and password. Then you have another option that login with SSO from ALS something. So you just click on
Oh,
that
okay.
one and it locks you in.
Okay. Okay.
And it's just basically because you have logged in here. So
Yeah.
this one is like the identity provider.
Mm-hmm.
It's providing you the once you have been authenticated into this platform, you now have access to all the other things that are connected.
Hit them.
So
Okay.
yeah, that's how it works. And I think in most organizations where the users do not control the services, like my brother's workplace, for instance, the
Yeah.
administrators, the IT administrators control access to the device. So they don't give you admin permission. Hence, the permission that you have, you are allowed to access particular softwares that you use.
Mm.
You know, these online platforms. So as soon
Yeah.
as you
Yeah.
log into your PC, it's like they've authenticated you for all these other services that you have
Yes.
on your machine.
Yes. Yes. Everything is there.
So that's just
Pre-installed softwares. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And
So,
they use the
um,
Microsoft Active Directory.
Active Directory. Yeah. AD.
Mm.
Yeah. So that makes the cloud they sync. So that's why they use the connector
Mm-hmm.
so that it creates the groups, it creates everything for them. It syncs
Yeah.
just like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Sure.
comes in handy. Yes.
Okay.
So on-prem, maybe I use, yeah, on-prem I using Active Directory. Use click on it and then
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the federated IAM. So
Okay.
as I was saying earlier, it means to authenticate with an external identity provider. If you could
Mm.
recall, an external
Yeah.
identity provider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the SSO is your internal identity provider. Like maybe you have
So
a
the,
Active
from the
Directory.
image, you realize they use
Yeah.
the Active Directory. Yeah,
Yeah. So on-prem Active
yeah,
Directory.
yeah.
But the federated IAMS, where you are
An
using an
external
external. So that could be Google, Facebook, and
Google,
co.
Facebook,
Yeah, that makes sense.
mhm, and the Cognito.
Cognito. So I was a bit confused yesterday when I was learning about it. It's an identity and data synchronization service.
Mhm.
Enables organizations to synchronize identity management and data across mobile devices. Hmm.
In fact, I was a bit confused. So what I kept in my mind was mobile
Mhm.
devices and then synchronization. I think those
Mhm.
are the key words.
Okay.
Synchronization and the
Okay.
mobile devices.
So, where the other thing that you can see is that with these ones, you are doing just the authentication and probably authorization mostly.
Synchronization.
But this other one, they've added user
User
management
management for web apps, for web
for
and
web
mobile apps.
and mobile apps. User management. Because it says an identity and data synchronization service. So it's not just the identity. So the identity part is what you use for the authentication and
Authentication
authorization.
to get access. Yeah.
Then you synchronize the data so you are able to manage the user's
User.
data.
Yeah.
You see, Cognito users can sign in directly with a username and password or with a third party. You see this one? You can sign in with a username and password because we have your user data. But
Yeah.
with the federated IAM and the SSO, you just click on the button
Click
and it
on the
logs you
button.
in
Yeah. Yeah.
automatically. Federated IAM, you just choose Google and Google will bring your information directly and you log in. But with this
Mhm.
one, you can decide to enter your own username and password and it works because they are doing user management or they are synchronizing the data or with a third party identity provider. Okay. It's simple
Yeah.
and efficient. So I think it's just Amazon's way of trying to replicate something like the federated IAM and the what is it? The SSO.
SSO.
But they are making it more simple because even if I don't connect through these ones, I can use my username and password. Mhm. That's cool. These their logos. There's no issue. Hi,
So
Client
so
service. Each of them has a logo.
so the process, you check from a user pool and you are
Okay,
given, so
okay.
let's go as
Yesterday I came across. Okay,
yes,
see, I came across user
the
pool
user pool
and
and I
identity
identity
pool,
pool.
but I
Yeah.
didn't understand the difference what they were talking about. Okay, user pool and identity. Could it be like just as we were saying, user management, then identity management, and user management, something like that?
So the user attempt to authenticate against Cognito.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Now when you authenticate against Cognito,
Mm-hmm.
The user is authenticated. Now, once you are authenticated, you need to provide you a token for the user, which is the user pool.
Okay.
The user then trades the token for credentials, which is the identity
The
pool.
user device.
Yeah.
Okay.
So once you get to
Oh,
continue,
so that one goes
so
to the
it works
identity
just
pool.
like the identity providers now. The concept of identity providers.
No, like the login, I understand the concept, but I want to establish a difference between the user pool and the identity pool.
And then
So does it mean like the user, as you are saying, authenticate against the cognito
the user is
authentic?
given a token from the
Hmm.
user pool.
So it's a token
So
that
there's a pool from for the
could be
users.
used to go into identity pool to go and check. Is
Mhm.
that it?
So the user pool will give you a token for you to be able to access, to be authenticated to the identity pool.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Does it
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah.
And that identity pool will be used to access the resources or the services.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's just
Oh.
like the concept. These people are giving us the real concept. Actually,
Mhm.
this concept, the identity provider. I don't know whether you checked identity provider and then service provider when you are doing that authentication.
Hmm.
So,
Identity
for
provider and
example,
service. Mm-hmm.
so let's take. I want to sign up. Hey, the guy is tired. I want to sign up to Google. Sorry, Facebook.
Okay.
I want to sign up to Facebook. Now,
I want to use. Mhm.
Facebook becomes my service provider, and
Oh,
I'm
okay.
signing
Okay.
in with Google.
Google.
So Google
Okay.
becomes
Oh,
identity provider.
okay.
Once I
Yeah,
click
got you.
on my email account,
Yeah.
Google authenticates with Facebook. It all boils down to trust,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
once Google authenticates, that's where they use the SAML, the security assertion markup language.
Mm-hmm.
Like a connection is done between them, those things.
Yeah.
Once it's authenticated, now I get access to Facebook.
Mm.
You get it? So
Yeah.
the same concept is around this place. You first log onto the Cognito and it leads you to a user pool. When you go to user pool, it gives you a token, and the token allows you to access the identity pool, which
Okay.
gives you a credential to access the resources.
Okay. So
Mhm.
in simple terms, the way I'm seeing it right now with the example you gave, let's say I decide to use Google to log into Facebook. So
Mhm.
the user pool is from Google because at the end of the day, that's where my details are. You
Yes.
get like you, so they'll grab the user details and come and
Obviously,
check.
they have your name. They will request. Facebook will
Exactly.
request of your
Facebook
name, your
also
email
has
address.
so
Yeah,
we'll come and confirm if there is a match before finally giving permission for me to access what I need to access.
exactly, exactly. So even within that identity provider and service provider, there is um, a handshake, a synchronization.
Yeah. Mm.
Like they go through a process before you
Yeah.
are allowed. But then you see
Mm-hmm.
network, internet, very fast, everything happen within a jiffy. So yeah.
Okay.
And AWS, they said they have their own directory service.
Mm.
Mm.
So just like Active Directory.
The Active Directory that we know, they said they have theirs.
Hmm. So right now AWS has every service. Huh? Hey.
Hey,
Oh
Mike,
my
Mike,
goodness.
Mike, Mike, Mike Gibbs, Mike Gibbs. He said
Yeah.
the product will be there, the service will be there, and Amazon will say they've added elastic before it. And when you go to that of Google, Google will say every service they add cloud. So cloud this. Amazon will say elastic doing stuff, elastic, elastic, elastic.
Elastic. Yeah, elastic and everything.
So that's how it. So now we know of directory service. They say they have AWS directory service. So I think the aspect we have to consider is so you can use it in your infrastructure as well, maybe your EC2 or something. And if you want to integrate it with your on-prem,
Mm-hmm.
that's where the connector comes in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But if I'm just thinking aloud, saying I already have the Microsoft AD, and
Mhm.
now I'm trying to use
You have
AWS
you have the
directory.
Microsoft AD
Yeah,
where as an on-prem or
I don't even know if it is like is it a device or something that will be on prem. If it
the
is,
Active Directory. It is
mm,
not. Uh, it's just a software, right?
yeah, so
That
if
gives
I have
permission.
it,
That gives permission.
yes, like we have all the details
So
in there.
so basically, it's just like something like the groups we talk about. So this department has access to this one. This department
Mm-hmm.
has access to this one. They call those things like users. They even connect printers. That's why organization you don't have to. You can issue a
Yeah,
command from your machine. So
yeah.
printers connect to them. They call those things. They don't call them. They call it objects. So everything, even a person, a printer, they call them objects.
Oh, okay.
On the active, yeah, they call them objects on the Active Directory. Yeah.
Hmm.
So the AWS Active Directory can be integrated with customers on-premises AD domain controller. So the domain controller is like the core. When you're talking about like the switch is the core, like the center of it.
Okay.
That the controller controls everything within the Active Directory,
Okay.
right? Okay. So it can be connected to that regard. AWS directory service can also be used by AWS service such as EC2, RDS for SQL Server, and then end user computing. And then AWS Workspace. I just came by today. I've never heard of it before.
Mm. I
AWS
saw it
Workspace.
in Waste Labs videos. They kept saying it.
So it's just like a virtual machine,
Oh,
right?
okay.
A server, like desktop, if I should
Mm.
put it. Yeah.
Mm.
So a virtual desktop.
A powerful computer.
Mm, okay.
Mm.
AD service can also be used by the end user computing AWS. Oh, okay, okay. Now look at the last aspect,
The
the
hosted
last part.
is,
The hosted AD service can also be used by EC2, RDS for SQL Server, AWS end user computing, and AWS workspaces for IAM functions. For IAM functions. So which means you can build your infrastructure within AWS and
mm-hmm.
you build your users within, you install the Active Directory, the AWS directory service is still Active Directory.
Mm.
You install the
Yeah.
Active Directory and you create your users on it and you
Yeah.
give them IAM
Yeah.
functions.
Mm-hmm.
You can
Mm-hmm.
access this, you can access this. Okay, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm.
Hmm.
Aside using it on-prem and then connecting it to the cloud, you are tired, Charlie.
Oh, don't worry, we are learning. The things are just plenty. These AWS people, they will kill human beings. Like a lot of similar things, but
I wish we could finish today so that tomorrow, God willing, we go through the labs.
no problem. Let's
And
go.
if possible, tomorrow we maybe tackle some questions.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, so that when we are ending, the questions won't be something new. At least we get fair idea of what you're doing. These people have some questions, but then to my understanding, I think it's cheaper. It's not standard. But anyway, you can combine resources.
Yeah, sure.
The diagram below shows okay, Active Directory, authentication process. Okay, the use of access keys and secret keys, I'm sure. Then there's security tokens, authorization. So this
Ooh,
concept you have to keep to
which one?
the IAM policy documents, the attributes,
What is it?
the IAM,
This one.
yes, the effects,
Mm.
the service. But I have to
Okay,
recommend,
so that's when you are creating the policy. Eh?
yes, when you're creating the policy,
Okay, then let me write them down.
attributes.
So effects, there is service, there is resource. So the resource will be the ARN. Okay, there
Mhm.
is action, then there is condition. Condition is a I am policy attribute. I am policy document attribute. Documents attribute. Hmm.
Yes, service, resource.
Action determines the permissions. Action is like permissions. Condition is the granular permissions
Obed,
or something. Yeah.
give me a minute, right?
Okay, sure. Okay.
Yeah, I'm back.
Welcome back. I also went, I got up, I had to put something in the microwave to get something to eat.
Okay.
Okay, that's nice. Yeah, so we're here.
Policy attributes. Um, policy
Hmm.
attribute.
Yeah, so as for the attributes now, I've seen them. The effects, the service, can I even do
Resource.
ESRAC? ESRAC. ESRAC. Rack. SRAC.
Rack. RAS.
SRAC
Ra- SRAC.
is ES, so effect, service, resource, action, condition.
Oh, okay. Oh, effect. Resource action. All right. So,
Creating IAM policies. Why do they keep using VPC as their like the way they said IAM policies determine who is allowed into the VPC? It's as if it's for just the VPC.
hmm. And if you talk about the levels of security as well, it's not even closer to that because I am the levels of security you pass through before you get to IAM. Hmm. IAM does the authentication and authorization. So
Yeah,
first of all,
into the
um,
console itself.
yes, so you bypass the CDN, which will include the shield, the WAF,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and then inside we come to intrusion detection and then prevention. But then AWS does not implement these things; they embed them into like one thing. Like so, you don't get like nitty gritty of this
Okay.
one knuckles, and then the security groups before you come to the IAM
Mm.
and within the but actually the security is tied to and
Yeah,
within
yeah.
the we have antivirus and then anti-spam and those things on the system. Actually,
Hey,
to be on the safer side,
this is
serverless to go.
this is plenty data. If you play or joke with it, shall we?
Hmm, okay, creating IAM policies. So the policies, we have the managed and then the inline.
Mm. Okay, okay.
The
There's the inline, and
yes,
I
so
think I remember Ima
the
saying
manage
that the
the
manager
manage
is customer managed and there's AWS managed.
yes, so the managed under managed you have to the customer managed and then AWS managed.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the inline. Now the inline aspect is when it's attached to a single entity.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
Why didn't these people add the inline policy?
And then this word to you, I'm sure you've kept it in your mind, the policy generator.
I think you were the one who told me about policy generator that
Long ago, yeah. You
yeah,
still remember it, yeah.
you
So
generate.
your policies there.
Mm.
And Ima went over it when he met.
Mm. I didn't.
Ima,
Then I missed that part. Then I missed that part. You know what happened was this. What happened was that along the line there was a cut of internet. Like all our networks. I don't know what happened. Everything went off. So I had to now send. money onto my phone to buy airtime to
Mm.
subscribe to an internet package
Hmm.
before
And
reconnecting.
in
Even though
my
the
case,
Wi-Fi was on, but it wasn't working. So I missed
mm,
some. That was when he was talking about, I think before Samuel and things. When I
oh,
came, he
okay,
was talking about Samuel already.
okay,
I see.
mm, we did that. Okay, I'm sure the manager, the policies, we are okay with it.
Yeah. Hmm.
Mm. Example, I am policy. Oh
Okay.
no, no, oh, go ahead, Charlie.
Oh, because I've seen them before.
Yeah, yeah. There's no need.
Yes,
I
yes.
just applying I am policies, user policy, manage policy, and group policy. Makes sense. A user, single user managed policy created and existed independently of the user.
This was one question I was going to ask him. When you started talking about access control,
Mm.
he mentioned that there are two types of access controls. There are resource-based access control and attribute-based access control. That
I'm
was
confused here. I've never heard it before.
when you know the time that I told you I was suffering to log in. When I logged in, the
Mm-hmm.
first thing he was talking about was authentication. Then after
Mm.
authentication, when you went to authorization, he talked
Okay.
about two types. That there is RBAC and RBAC, like ABAC. That's the attribute-based access control. Then there is the resource-based access control. So
Mm.
attributes-based, you mentioned that maybe when you are logging on to Facebook, you are signing up, they'll check your age before they permit you. If you are below a certain age,
Ah,
they won't permit you.
yeah, Charlie.
That's
I
the
remember
attribute.
that example, but then Charlie, the thing itself, yeah.
So
Why? Ah,
then
okay. Let me
then the
write it here.
okay. The
So
example
you
then
said
country. You
attribute
said types of the authorization. There's
types of
attributes.
authorization.
Yeah. Or I don't know if he came down. I mean, I just wrote types, but I remember he was talking about access control, and he said there are two types of them.
Authorization and
Is
then
yes, it
access
says
control. I think is the
authorization.
same.
They are using. He said they are used interchangeably.
Yeah.
Mm. So there is the attribute-based access control and the resource-based access control. But I remember very well that in like the programming, PHP programming I've been doing,
Attributes and
I
role based. Right. I'm
no,
listening.
attribute and resource based, like attribute based and resource based. So the attribute one, the example was the age and country. So those are just attributes. But the resource ones are like the normal ones that we know. So whether you have access to a particular resource or not, uh, like we checked. Well, what's your permission? Does your permission allow you to access this resource or not? So
Hmm.
that one becomes the resource base. So that was when later we started talking about I am resources. Then somebody got confused about when he was talking about resources.
Okay.
So, but when I saw the RBAC, in my mind
Mm-hmm.
it was role based access control
Mm-hmm.
because that's what I know in our normal programming when you are building a platform that will give different access level to people, let's say administrator, editor, author, and they are able to do different things. We usually
Okay.
use the role-based access
Okay.
control.
Control.
So that
Okay.
was what I was thinking. I came across resource-based. So I even wrote here, the first question I wrote to ask him was, is the resource-based access control same as role-based? But later, the way he
Is it the
explained it,
same
I
as?
read role-based.
Okay.
You see here we are seeing role-based access control, but from the way he explained things, the resource is like broad. So
Sure.
role-based actually falls below resource.
Hmm.
So it's just part of the resource-based access control. But it
Hmm.
doesn't mean that resource-based access control is not just limited to roles. It could be just user group.
Okay.
It could also be roles. So we have the role-based that's like a low level using the roles of the people. Hmm.
Hmm.
So all of these things. Hmm.
Okay.
MFA.
I am with MFA. Hmm.
MFA, yeah. We've been
Hmm.
hearing it all the time.
Multi-account strategies.
Which one is this one? Which one is
Multi-account
the first?
strategies. OU, organizational units. When you are using multiple accounts.
Oh, okay. So AWS organization.
Hmm.
Is that it? Like using
Yeah.
AWS organization.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Oh, okay.
Hmm. That's it.
Hmm. Okay. 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 So that's another form of security. How
Mm-hmm.
does it offer security? Is it the billing? Because I know that the billing is one
The
advantage.
billing aspect is what I know.
Oh, okay.
Did they talk about
Okay, so I
security
think
here?
they are given because of the following security enhancements. So there's isolation between organizational
Organizational
units,
units.
the ability to share only necessary information between units. Okay,
Units.
so
It
something
makes
like
sense. It makes
separation
sense.
of
It makes
powers.
sense. Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense there. Without security.
Mm.
Yeah. So if we are using
Mm.
one account, it
Look at
means
this particular one.
the ability to reduce the blast radius, meaning that if a problem happens in yes, exactly. That was what I was going. Yes, yes,
Mm.
yes. It won't affect others. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Blast radius.
Sometimes when we're solving some of the questions for the practitioner exams, sometimes I get confused under which domain is this one. Like right now, if
Yeah,
I go and I get
yeah, yeah, yeah.
AWS organization question, I'll be asking myself, ah, in fact, even when Ima was teaching, it was later cry that I heard that we are dealing with the security domain. I didn't even know that I am is like I didn't think about it. I didn't even think that I am had a domain. Like I was like, ah, I am is like the basis of AWS. So we are not doing the basis before we go into the domain system. Then later I realized, oh, this is actually security because it's preventing unauthorized access and things. So okay. So you can use access control, you can do encryption, you'll be doing auditing, and you do automation. Okay, I think he said we were supposed to talk about this, but we ended up not talking about it. SCPs. Are you there? Oh, let me get my food. we ended up not talking about it. So that's what I'm reading right now.
Yeah.
Then after that, there is preventing DDoS. So that would be for the shield. Okay.
We have like 3 or 4 pages to go.
Then
Yeah,
WAF.
yeah,
So shield, WAF. What else? Shield. Is that all? Catalog.
yeah.
That I
There's
haven't met before. So I
a
will.
powerful tool.
Systems manager. That was what I was about to learn yesterday when I slept.
Systems manager. I think system manager has a lot of functions. So I think the parameter store is one aspect of it. Remember we had systems manager, sections manager, or something like that.
Yeah. I remember that thing.
So this one is another aspect. Parameter store, which keeps it just manage your password for you.
Oh, okay.
Data strengths and critical component.
No, okay.
Yeah, it's just about managing your passwords.
Okay. So after that one, then the other smaller service, Amazon Mercy.
Yeah, okay. Massive is
Amazon.
just machine learning.
Oh, okay, for machine learning.
Yes, finding patterns in your data.
Oh, okay.
And then the guard duty, as the word say, threat monitoring guard.
Okay.
Monitoring services, and then inspector as the name goes.
I think we've actually met the inspector before.
Yes. So that's all.
All right. That's
cool. It's good. It's thank God.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, God willing, you will do the practical.
It's not tomorrow. It's Thursday.
Thursday, okay.
Yeah.
Thursday.
Tomorrow is a busy day, so Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday.
Okay.
So Thursday, we are going to look at the practicals, right?
Yeah. Then find time to solve some questions.
Yes.
Then Friday we can do the cost optimization.
Yes. Because I think on Thursday we have a lot of time because just hosting with cloud front, and then we have shift the cloud front, and then organization.
Okay.
This is what we've not tackled before. So do the organization. Unless we watch some video.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I don't know whether it costs. If it's okay, I'll research about it. Suppose that it costs, we can use my account.
Okay.
So I'll research about it.
Okay, that's fine. All right, Charlie. Thank you so much. God bless you. So keep in touch. Hopefully Thursday.
So I'll send you this resource. I have to send it to you right now.
Okay.
The microservices.
Okay.
It's a nice resource.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.